No, so the next milestone is actually to put that together in concrete initiatives that we can work right away and could leverage next initiatives. So the idea is not to create like an isolated chapter of a topic that then will end to nothing and then take like something totally unrelated to that. The idea is to have chapter 1 that it will grow into chapter 2. The chapter 2, of course, we are aiming to be with more private sector and fundable. So we create a bigger chapter 3 and so on. So it's like a roadmap of initiatives.
We understand that you were the one behind the idea to build this platform and alliance. Can you tell a little bit about it? How was the initial draft about this?
Yes, actually it was an interesting story. That was actually 2.5, almost 3 years ago, when actually one of the ministries in Finland actually was asking BTT for like a much stronger role in a global scale, like making like an impact global. Understanding that BTT is working like everywhere in the world, having projects everywhere in almost every country in this planet, but the idea to make an impact, of course, is aiming to much more than that, so that's some systemic local challenges. And in that conversation actually was a couple of colleagues, and one of them actually, Edgar Berner, actually was talking about this 3+3 concept, which is, he was working on that concept between Germany and Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken, actually, and that 3+3 was aiming to like a collaboration between countries, binational in 3 levels, state to state, private to private, and R&Ds and universities about 2 countries. So actually I was brainstorming with him about the concept. It was really interesting, of course, along with our CEO, Antti Vasara, and my boss, Jussi Manninen, who is the Executive Vice President of Carbon Solutions at BTT. And then we were brainstorming, like, what could be something that we can do? Shall we go which part of the world, and what kind of context actually could be? And it was some original ideas about Africa, of course, because a lot of problems are there, we could actually help. But then, of course, there was my Finnish and Chilean bias saying, okay, the main problem actually that we have on the planet is we are facing systemic challenges. One of the biggest systemic challenge we are facing is energy transition, right? The problem we have is that the more sustainable we become in the northern hemisphere, the more unsustainable we become in the southern, because it's actually the natural resources are coming from there. And then it's my Chilean bias here. I say, okay, Chile, biggest producer of copper in the world, and lithium, and so on. So it could be actually great if we could apply like a systemic binational kind of framework where we can actually match 2 countries around this. And then actually they said, well, can we build it? Well, of course we can. So I'm a bit over positive most of the time. So, and then I was contacting my Chilean fellows, so Leopoldo Reyes and Nana Araneda, and said, okay, let's actually start like seeing what we can do in the local ecosystem. And on this, we were actually meeting with all stakeholders in Chile, kind of testing the idea. Okay, what if actually we build something like that? It was a pretty wild, crazy idea at that time. I had the full support always, and working like hand by hand with my boss, with Jussi Manninen. So it has been amazing support with amazing freedom. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to build it. And then I met Jose Miguel Benaventes. So, and then, I mean, yes, great like-minded person, and he saw the potential of this, and we said, okay, yeah, it makes total sense to build this around both countries. And we agreed to sign an MOU, or like an agreement to collaboration between BTT and CORFO. We were going to sign that, actually. We have BTT, Jose Miguel here, like a whole week of meeting. Actually, he's a machine. I mean, I put like 9 technical meetings in a row every day. He was digesting everything. It was a really good week. And then we signed, that was on August, and then on 23. And then on September, actually, we were aiming to sign this agreement between CORFO and BTT with the president of our Undersecretary of State, like Petri Peltonen. But then in that last month, that last 2 months, we realized that why to actually just focus on mining and not to all the strategic verticals.
Oh, initially it was just mining?
Yes.
Whoa.
And then we said, well, actually, why just mining? I mean, we have all these strategic verticals in Finland, in Chile, that are strategic for the development of the country. And beautifully, it happened to be the same. Exactly the same. So raw materials, forestry value chain, city development or regional development, energy transition with a strong focus on hydrogen, and so on. So say, okay, let's sign it actually aiming to all of those and not limited to those. So we can actually find some new opportunities where that actually could be not like a very competitive advantage for one country as itself, but it could be like an amazing competitive advantage for all countries as a joint platform, as a joint binational venture or whatever, right? And that's what we signed. So we said, okay, let's build this. And that was what happened actually in the Finnish embassy in Chile at the end of September 23, and then CORFO mandate Fundación Chile to be the executing muscle from this.
Which was the hardest part in this 3-year process?
Evangelization, I would say. So at the beginning, everybody saw the beautiful idea of the dream behind, but it was too complex to actually to put it together, because we were trying to align a stakeholder from the public sector, a stakeholder from the private sector, a stakeholder from the R&D, universities or researchers. So very different mindsets. So, but they saw the potential. So probably kind of like pushing all the buttons and see actually from which was going to be the stakeholders in the ecosystem, was going to be the one that are going to traction first. It was probably the trigger point. And then the second challenge is like, basically the topics are the same, so we have the same challenges. I mean, Finland, I always mention that Finland and Chile has a very similar economical matrices, right? So based on natural resources, forestry, minerals, and so on.
And exporting a lot.
And exporting a lot because the internal market is too small. What is the main difference? The main difference is Finland, even being smaller, has been succeeding on creating ecosystem, very rich ecosystem and value chains. So they have a small mining sector, but actually they create technology, they create processes, they create know-how, they create expertise that is being exported. In a way that actually Chile is buying a lot of that, right? And of course, all the mining. I'm using mining as a proxy, but this applies to everything. And in Chile, we have like a huge amount of natural resources, and again, using mining as a proxy, like leading in, like, use all the numbers there, so and everybody knows it, like in copper, in lithium, and so on, and even in forestry, but we are exporting most of it like raw materials. So all the value chain is happening somewhere else. We know where.
And then we buy it back.
Exactly, and then Europe is buying it back, Chile is buying it back, Finland is buying it back. So what if I could start capturing that between the two countries? So that actually was the...
This is a project with a 5 to 7 years time period.
Yeah. Sorry.
At the end.
Yeah. I missed what part. Sorry. Sorry. So the topics are the same, and then we said, but in order to lower risk, we need private funding is there, but given the conditions of the private funding, but in order to lower the risk, we need to leverage with public, right? The problem is, so the money is available. I mean, Business Finland has a lot of money, CORFO has a lot of money. The problem is that the funding tools were different. So just the mechanism, right? So it was a bit trickier to match those, to say, how can actually we use the current available tools in order to fund this in a way that we kickstart soon, and not we start like just creating new tools, because that will take forever. And that was actually, so the first part, the evangelization, and the other part actually the matching of funding tool. And in this part actually, Jose Miguel from CORFO was great, because actually he actually proposed to the Board of Ministry to put this 20 million seed funding just in order to kickstart this. So this is just...
It's like their intention.
This is just the seed funding, because this seed funding, it will unlock... I always like explain it as a snowball that we create, that start rolling, and as getting momentum, start getting more speed and bigger, and start growing and growing and growing. So now we have this seed funding in order to kickstart this, but we are going to start funneling more funding from Business Finland, from Horizon, from Inter-American Development Bank, Global Gateway, European Investment Bank, and so on. And then, of course, we can leverage more funding from Chile, more funding from Finland, and more funding from everywhere else. So that's the idea. So this is just, so the numbers there actually are just anecdotic for this purpose, because it's just kickstarting this. It's going to be a lot of funding. So funding is not a problem, really. The problem is actually to build the right initiatives that are demand-driven from both ecosystems. And we have the topics, we have the traction, we just need to actually start working on that.
This is a project that its time frame is at first between 5 to 7 years.
Yes and no.
After, of course, you know. And after that period, will it be this binational platform used as a blueprint?
Yes.
To trying to do it the same or better with another countries, another...
That's why I said yes and no, because the vision, the philosophy is not 5 years, it's not 10 years, is decades.
Okay.
So the idea this to be a platform that stays there and it's just so it's a living animal that need to be evolving with the ecosystems, with both. So right now, this funding tool, because of course it's a concrete funding tool, the one that CORFO just approved, has like a time span of 5 years. So in 5 years, we need to prove, of course, that the money has been paying off, right? But then we're going to leverage money from Business Finland. Then we're going to leverage other money. So this is just the Kickstart. So that particular funding tool has a lifespan of evaluation, like return of investment, if you want to see it that way, for 5 years. But the platform as itself is the philosophy, the vision is aiming to actually last decades. So originally we were thinking about like platform 2050. I mean, we need to actually thinking like a proper name to communicate it. So this is not going to be the final marketing name, very likely. But the idea is long term. And it's a living animal.
And it is the first time this occurs between these two countries and between BTT.
It's a lot of first times. So it's the first time that this occurs between all the players that are here. It's the first time in history that actually CORFO is allocating this amount of money to tailor-made for just one country.
Yeah.
So tailor-made. So it was not like a global competition. And so this is a joint venture or alliance, so like that has been built from the scratch between the two countries. So totally historical.
I also was asking about using this as a blueprint for other alliances, for another.
Yeah, I mean, it's not limited.
Because it's first science.
No, and it's not limited to be. I mean, we were just in Sweden actually talking about mining. It's not limited, and Jussi actually I think also was saying. I mean, it doesn't mean that the players that are now need to be in everything. It doesn't mean that everything will come from Finland and Chile. I mean, hopefully, the most of the solutions come from or are created by. But if we need some particular technology solution, stakeholder player that actually is filling a gap in a value chain, in a particular ecosystem, welcome to join. So this is about creating value, and it's about. I mean, to the point that they were in the takeaway. So this is business driven. So we are talking about innovation, we are talking about R&D, but it's business driven. The idea is to take that from the idea and the piloting to actually make a real impact in the ecosystem, meaning business, society, and environment, right? And the other, again, is a living animal, so it will evolve depending how actually the ecosystem are actually behaving. Companies also in the roundtables, they were asking many questions, and some of them were aiming to business as usual. So of course we can help to companies that have technology and solutions they want to enter to a new market. Of course we can help on that, but this is, and we will, but this is of course underutilizing the platform. The platform is aiming to create value chains, to create added value in an industry that is there. So if we are just selling one equipment, I mean, we are not really, we are helping one company and part of the economy, but we are not really creating a competitive advantage. So the idea is now is transform, particularly in the case of Chile, the comparative advantages that Chile has as a country to competitive advantages in a global scale. Same apply for Finland.
So if I put it like in a simple English sentence, it will be like connecting the two countries in order to create new solutions and offer those solutions to third countries.
Yes, and to fill the value chain in between.
Okay.
So it's not that just we extract copper concentrate, for example, and then we ship it to China. We can actually do something else with that. If we were talking about lithium, actually, maybe not today, but I mean, we could. I'm not saying we are going to put like a battery factory in Chile, but there is actually a whole value chain in factor here. Yeah. So those actually value chains should and will. That's why we are aiming combine in a way that most of that value is being captured for Chile and by Chile and by Finland.
Last question: which are the next milestones?
So now we have all these hypotheses of verticals and topics with mining. Within this, we know the problems that are affecting like Finnish mining-related companies and Chilean mining-related companies from the process point of view, and we know the players, and we have all these hypotheses. Now, so the next milestone is actually to put that together in concrete initiatives that we can work right away and could leverage next initiatives. So the idea is not to create like an isolated chapter of a topic that then will end to nothing and then take like something totally unrelated to that. The idea is to have chapter 1 that it will grow into chapter 2. Okay. The chapter 2, of course, we are aiming to be with more private sector and fundable. So we create a bigger chapter 3 and so on.
Okay.
So it's like a roadmap of initiatives.
Which should be the first one of those?
So we have already circular mining is one of the main titles because we saw a huge potential for both countries around tailings. That is a huge problem. Here is like a dozen of tailings. In Chile, we have almost 800. So both ecosystem actually has so there is a lot of technology here in Finland that solve a couple of the problems within that process, but maybe the market is not big enough here to make it economically feasible. But if we go to Chile to do that, make total sense. And vice versa, right? And other topics. Then turning waste into values. So this is much more than recovering the tailings, but it could go beyond like any other waste coming from mining. Yeah. And for that, actually, we need technology to turn that waste into value, but also we need to create a business model for companies that either don't exist or exist in a different way. So let's say, for example, if we recover material from tailing, that could be used to build bricks at some point that are going to be used for a construction company that could build houses or roads or whatever, then we need to actually work with the mining company to dispose the material in a different way. We need to work with the company A that is going to take the material and process it. Company B, we're going to build these bricks or whatever construction material. Company C, we're going to build the houses. And very likely we need to work with the regulator to allow this to happen. Yeah. So then A, B, or C are not going to happen by itself organically, but if we can force, but we work with all together, we can force the domino effect to happen. Yeah. And that's how actually, and this is with our Fundación Chile partners, that they are a great articulator in the local ecosystem, and here VTT, GTCO, all the Finnish player, we also know how to work in jointly funded initiatives in this ecosystem, so that there is actually where the beauty start happening.
And today was the kickoff here in Finland with Finland companies.
Yeah.
There's going to be the same, I assume, in Chile.
Yes.
But when are you going to meet both sides? Are you planning like an event, a recurring event?
What we have on the roadmap so far is, on the spot, so that you just said, first week of January, 7th of January should be, Fundación Chile is actually turning 50 years, and we are going to turn that celebration into like also a kickoff of the platform with the Chilean private sector. So that's a big milestone similar to this. And then we are just starting to draft it with our Finnish partners and Chilean partners, so Invest Chile within those Chile-Finland Innovation Week, let's say. Okay. And probably in that, exactly, so we need to also come up with a name, but very likely that's going to be what you're asking. Okay. That can be like an instant when...
might be huge.
Yes.
Like connecting both sides, like real in person.
And of course, and this it will trigger a lot of different events and initiatives, because if we're talking about one particular ecosystem, could have one shape, but for example, we're talking about startups, we can launch actually in Chile and in Finland like topic challenges, right? And we make startups actually to apply to those, and those could be filled some gaps in some particular problems. And there is tools actually that are already available. There is events that are already available. We know the ones here in Finland. We know some in Chile, but actually we can create more. So the idea is to start using what we have now and then creating what actually could fit best.
You are the creator of the idea, but what about if, 7 years go by, 10 years go by, as you say, like this is supposed to happen for decades. Yeah. Times go by and we interview again like in 10 years. What's the dream?
The dream is to see Finland. Finland has not been growing economically for 17 years, if I'm not mistaken. So to see a Finland that has been growing for all this time from the economic point of view, but also sharing that economical value within society without impacting the environment, which is actually what Finland has been doing pretty good, but could be done better. And the same in Chile. So Chile actually taking off from the almost developed country to a developed country where there is like a very decent and good economical growth, but also like more society equality. So actually the society, the people, is participating in the value that is being extracted from the key industries. And at the same point, we are actually taking care of the environment. So we are, the dream is that we create a Chile and a Finland that work together as a wine ecosystem, binational ecosystem, that will create a much better future for our children's, grandchildren's, and exactly, and generations beyond. So actually, this is the dream. We always talk about sustainability, and sustainability has economical sustainability, has technological, and part of it, environmental and societal. So if you aim to all of those, and you succeed in different levels, but you succeed in all those actually pillars, then you are really creating a more sustainable, smart, resilient society for our children. And that's a dream. I really want to leave a much better planet for our children and grandchildren, and we can start with our countries. And I love Finland, I love Chile, of course, so this is the dream.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.